So hooked up to one of the conference rooms. So
That is awesome.
All right, everyone. We are live for the MMA Depressed Us with me, Zane Simon, and my co-hosts Phil McKenzie and Connor Rebush. We are coming a day late and well short of any idea of quality. Just off of all sorts of weird stuff with Phil's office, and he's got a job, apparently a real job, which I don't. Yeah, that sounds like a sucker's game, Phil.
Yeah, I don't approve.
So Phil's out of there working for the man.
The only advantage of it is that you can stay incredibly late and steal one of the conference rooms and eventually set off the motion detector alarms when you leave after watching some shitty ass MMA. So when you see me, like, you know, when Mookie posts will post up like Twitter things of, you know, it'll be like British person gets caught doing something incredibly cheap, and it'll be like, Phil, quit. No, this time it will actually be me. But
that's
anyway.
right. We're going to end the show watching Phil get dragged away from his laptop by security, screaming about Nick Diaz and Anderson Silva, which, of course, is to tease this week's show. Our big disappointment fight for the end of the show is Nick Diaz versus Anderson Silva, a fight that could really, as we were talking about this last week, it's a fight that could fit any of our criteria. It is good, bad. It is bad, bad. And it's a massive disappointment, all wrapped into one.
Yep.
One of the weirder fights in recent MMA history. Especially one of the weirder big fights. It's hard to think of like a big main attraction fight that has been that just...
Well, it has been notable that, like, whenever they've put together hilarious, fun trash fights, you know, super fights you'd never expect between people that you'd never expect to come together, the general answer has been they've been pretty shitty.
Like astoundingly pedestrian matchups.
Yeah, Brock, Hunt, Cormier Silva, this. Like, people are just like, no, this is too weird. I don't get it. I'm not going to do much. Oh, yeah, Faber Edgar.
They definitely... I mean, it's kind of like the same thing with the UFC and tournaments in the modern era. You know, obviously they classically had a bunch of awesome tournaments, but like once they got to the point where they're like, no, we have divisions and that's all we do, and we are two men fighting each other for eternity, and that's all that the UFC is, then all of their attempts to do anything else outside of that have always just felt like, you know, somebody who's just grabbing something and be like, there. Okay, you want a tournament? Fuck, there's your tournament. Fucking flyweights, and
we don't even like them.
Yeah.
Well, that light heavyweight thing where they were like, we're gonna have 4 light heavyweights fighting, and you know, the one that does the best is gonna get a shot at John Jones. And then they looked at the results and they were just like, nah.
Yeah. So Silva Diaz is also sort of a, you want fucking super fight? Here. There.
Gosh, I can't wait
Nick Diaz doing jazz hands.
Can't wait for GSP McGregor. Surely that will be a very satisfying, exciting contest, right in line with these others.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
That will come down the pipe, and it will definitely looks like something that comes down a pipe. All right. On that note, we're going to start out today, as always, on the MMA Depressed Us. We're watching everything on Fight Pass, and we're just watching the full Fight Pass versions of the fight, starting at the beginning. I will count you in 3, 2, 1, go. That's our cue to start on time. It's your cue if you're watching along with us to start along with us. If you're watching on some other video somewhere else, you've got your own library of all this stuff, or you're pirating it, or whatever else we don't care about or need to know about, then Connor will try to tell you when round 1 starts so that you can sync round 1 with us. First up today, we're going to be watching Mike Jackson versus CM Punk from UFC 225. My God, it's a good, bad fight, and it's such a terrible fight.
That's our good, bad?
Yeah. Our bad. Jeremy Horn versus Gilbert Eivel from Pride 21 demolition. It is Jeremy Horn failing to submit Gilbert Ivel in a 3-round grappling match.
I don't want.
Or it's Pride, so 2 rounds, but 15 minutes.
I should have known the moment that we had a good bad slot and Gilbert Ivel's name was not in that.
Yeah.
I was in for a misfortune.
And then, of course, our headliner, Anderson Silva, Nick Diaz from UFC 183. Connor is so depressed already that he's gone out of focus. So
I wish we could have gotten Gilbert Ivel, James McSweeney. That would have been great. Anyway.
I've become blurry with absolute torpor. All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
One of our regular listeners does a podcast with James McSweeney, and he was kind of like,
"What?" one of the listeners of this?
Yeah.
Ah, that's incredible.
It is.
Can we get James McSweeney on this show? I need to have him on and be like, "So James, let's watch another one of your fights together." We promise to be polite.
I know that fighters don't tend to have enough money to actually fly anywhere to hurt anyone, but I would still be worried slightly.
Yeah, so this is why I'm worried, right?
Phil,
like you guys.
The country's not that big.
Exactly. They're basically neighbors.
Exactly. Yeah, you can walk across the whole thing in like an hour.
All right. Let's get started with this. Mike Jackson, CM Punk, starting in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, man. This fight. So, my lasting memory, other than CM Punk jumping into Mike Jackson's arms like a child who's been
that was great
by a loud noise, is just how amazingly good Mike Jackson looks in this fight, like, as an athlete. And that's not because of Mike Jackson. I mean, no discredit to him. But we watched him fight Mickey Gall. Mike Jackson is, he's no idea of a great athlete by UFC standards. But man, does he look like fucking John Jones next to CM Punk.
This is the hashtag levels fight.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one which, like, yeah, it makes you never take notice of how good someone looks beating up on someone very bad.
Yeah.
Like, because there's been a lot of times in the past when I have done that, and I'm sure everyone's done it, when someone completely styles on another fighter, and you're just like, oh yeah, they looked pretty good, and then you're like, yeah, it's actually pretty good, easy to look good when the other person is just not.
Especially when you have like, are you guys your fight about to start as well?
I'm at 21:45, 44.
Yeah.
And Punk is flexing.
Somehow I jumped ahead of you guys. I'll back up to catch up with you. I'm at 21:37 right now.
Okay, I'm at 33, 32, 31, 30.
Okay, I'm 2 seconds behind, so close enough. All right, fight's going to begin in a couple seconds. In a couple minutes.
Oh, man. God. Punk
look at him.
So much.
Right, here we go. Round one begins now.
I do love the fact that, like, Punk is, he's a pro wrestling crossover. Whatever he's going to bring to the table, it's going to be charisma and excitement. And then, like, he just showed up with this fucking hangdog roadie type. Well, I'm just going to try my best.
Yeah.
Just going to put in some work as the most bland, low-level, like, UFC guy imaginable. Like, I'm just going to see if I can try and, show my heart and my will and my training.
Relatively speaking, it's like if you invited, like, I don't know, some A-list Hollywood celebrity on your interview show. You invite Tom Hardy on your interview TV show, and he immediately announces only after you begin air, like, I don't want to talk about my acting career. You're like, oh, great. This is why we hired you, Tom. This is exactly why we're happy to have you here.
Suddenly you found he's there and he's like, you know what, guys? I've been really into button collecting lately. That's all I want to talk about is my button collection.
Well, CM Punk's literally only selling point is that he's supposed to be saleable, and he just doesn't even try. Also, it has to be said, right? CM Punk is not athletic in the slightest.
No,
he's so I can't believe that he looks like he's like 2 or 3 years in, and he looks like those guys. You know that video of the mean boxing trainer who just talks shit at stockbroking dorks in New York? Have you guys seen this?
I haven't seen it. No.
Oh yeah. I know the guy you mean.
His whole job is just to get extremely incensed because Wall Street people are not athletic, and CM Punk looks worse than those guys. He just has no like natural feel for fighting. He throws a kick, and it's like, have you ever taken a step before? Like,
he does that thing where he picks up his entire body, lifts one leg higher than the other, and then rotates the whole body as though like there was no like ability to get the hip to freely move of its own volition.
Look at his hair whipped around when he does it, though.
Has Duke Rivers just haven't been watched Jake Shields footage? That's what he's been like preparing for.
He's like, learn from the master of stand-up arts.
Then just like how both of his feet did a little hop as he threw a knee in the clinch. He had like a little hitch in his. He's just Jake so
Shields have a learn to strike with Jake Shields video series, because
clearly
that would be awesome.
I don't see where else CM Punk could have picked up these magnetic techniques.
Punk does look like the dude who gets kicked out of an emo show for like trying to sell X to kids. That really is like the look he's rocking in there.
He looks like the last wrestler I would expect to have a straight edge persona. That's for sure.
Yeah, no kidding. Although, to be fair, almost every straight edge person I've ever met has that same look. It's like they look like they secretly do a lot of drugs and then just don't then tell everyone that they don't do any drugs.
The worst cover story.
Watch some MMA. We have a bizarrely high percentage of men who almost died from heroin overdoses and then use that to re-inspire themselves and to refocus themselves on a fighting career. This man is not one of them.
Like, can you believe it?
But yes, look at how like competent and controlled and poised Mike Jackson looks as he just every time he wants to throw something, he lands it. He just does a little back step, a little like fadeaway hook jab kind of, just.
This is
Can we also talk about how much better CM Punk striking looks than it did the first time before? Like, that's a real thing.
That is damning.
Oh, he got the takedown. He got the takedown just because.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, because this is the moment of the fight where you're like, oh, this guy who's been styling on him isn't that good.
Yeah.
He's not actually that good of a fighter. He could be taken down with ease.
Yeah. And then still just kind of shrimp out and stand right back up. And
I was going to say before, like, this is oh my God, sickening body shots. This is a good example too of like, I don't know. This is a fight where the guy who is an actual fighter, who is here to show you the difference between an average sad sack piece of shit, i.e. yourself, and what an actual fighter can do, has like a one advantage that he can just rely on through the entire fight. And in this case, like, it's mostly reach. Like, this entire fight is just CM Punk just being bewildered and having no idea of how far away the guy in front of him is at any given moment. And Mike Jackson, he doesn't even have to try. He just like, oh, like he can't tell where I am. He's at the end of my arms and I have longer arms. I just get to keep touching him. So
yeah,
would it have been better? Like, would you guys have rather seen, spoilers for the torture we're about to see coming up, but wouldn't you guys have rather seen Mike Jackson like finish CM Punk rather than like,
no, I don't care.
Just barely not finish him for 3 rounds?
I mean,
Like, doesn't CM Punk just dominate him in the third? He makes a huge comeback. Spoiler warning. He's gonna fuck him up. He's gonna use his willpower and his guts.
I definitely like. I guess I picked this to be a terrible decision where it's like a terrible, awful, ugly fight and a decision. So to me, it's just like, I mean, like I say, it's just part of the whole thing of like Mike Jackson's just not that good. I mean, he doesn't have any of the credentials of being a good MMA fighter. It's not something he does a lot of. Being like, oh, he should have done better. It's like, yeah, well, they could have picked a better fighter if they wanted somebody to do better. You know?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, they wanted someone that CM Punk had a conceivable chance of beating.
Yep. And people thought that was Mike Jackson, and then they stepped in the cage together, and it's like, oh wow, it's really not even that.
I mean, who else could they have picked? Like, it's a pretty decent pick, all things considered.
Hoist Gracie.
Oh, there's the right hand, the horrible one.
Oh no, Hoist Gracie would have just kicked him in the pills and then choked him. and
oh, there we go. There we go. You're too big for this, CM.
No,
I can't do this. You're killing my back.
Not in the middle of the grocery store, CM Punk.
Oh man.
And that's one of his most effective grappling techniques thus far.
Well,
he got that takedown, man.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, now he gets to work his guard.
He gets to work from a dominant position.
And it's just like one of these James Toney type things where, you know,
yes.
I always
straighten out your legs.
I always love reading the responses from people who are like working in camp with these kind of guys, you know, like they did with James Toney. So they always have to say things like, he's actually, you know, he's a lot tougher than people think he is. He is working every day. I think he could really surprise a lot of people with his ground game. It's like, none of those are necessarily positives for how good they actually are. Like, I loved when they had like Kevin Lee. They asked him they had an AMA on Reddit, and anyone who hasn't read it should check it out. It's really good. He is actually very, very good, and online. You know, he knows his stupid ass memes. But so they were like, you know, so what do you think of? You've gone down to Rufus Sport. What do you think of, you know, CM Punk? He's like, yeah, I go down there to help him out sometimes. He needs it.
It's like I don't know, it's being paid to babysit a kid that you clearly hate, and the only person who can't tell is like the kid you hate. It's like Kevin Lee. What can Kevin Lee show CM Punk? Is it worth his time? Like, isn't that like an insult to just how good Kevin Lee is, that he has to try and improve the skills of CM Punk? Look what's he's doing.
Yeah, he's going for Slipknot ground and pound. We saw it from last week.
You can't learn. Don't try, Kevin. It's not worth your time.
Well, I'm just trying to picture how easy Kevin Lee would have to go on CM Punk to make that a functional training session.
Right.
Oh my
That's
God.
the thing. Like, could he just like he would have to seriously stop himself from like accidentally fucking him up.
Yeah, it would just have to be like, okay, I'm gonna lean on you now. And oh no, you're on the ground again. Shit, no. You're supposed to defend when I lean. You stop the take. Oh, okay, no.
Imagine CM Punk shooting for a takedown on Kevin Lee, and Kevin Lee sprawls, and CM Punk just dies. He just gets underneath Kevin Lee's hips as they rocket towards the ground, and it just smushes his head like a grape, and he's dead. I mean, that's what would happen, I think, if Kevin Lee like did one round of actual sparring with CM Punk. I really do.
Yeah, I can just imagine him like trying to give him tips and just be like, just has to think, and he's like, okay, I've got to give him some relevant tips for someone who is 5 times slower than me, 5 times weaker than me, less technical, and then just sort of giving up and just slowly walking away, just shaking his head.
Also, like, considerably less charismatic.
Yes.
as a professional fighter.
It's true.
Yeah, that's still the weirdest thing, right? Is that you would expect him out of everything else. You would expect, but he's almost defiant in offering absolutely nothing to bringing just nothing to the table.
He wants the real UFC fighter experience. This is what it is to be a UFC fighter: is to be a completely boring, banal person who has no interesting thoughts, lives your life by like things that I don't know. Skip Bayless knows about fighting. Yeah, that's what UFC fighting is. It's just being a he has become a generic fighter. It's great.
Yep.
He lived his dream, Connor. He lived his dream.
Yeah. Now I get to be a guy fighting.
But then again, this is part. I guess this is me not watching any pro wrestling mostly, but I didn't ever really understand what was CM's like personality hook in pro wrestling.
Yeah, I don't know what he did there. I'm assuming it wasn't that dissimilar to this, but he was more rebellious. Hence,
I guess maybe it's. I also just wonder if it's like, pro wrestling fans marking out for whatever you're fed enough kind of works for you. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe that's just cruel. But it is hard to. It's hard for me to think of him being like a superstar or any kind of.
I think some of it must have to do like Punk does not look like he could possibly be this bad at fighting. So like there is like a kung fu dojo thing where it's much easier to believe in this presented image of indestructibility as a wrestler.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about just seeing Punk try, like earnestly try and utterly fail to do anything athletic in a fight. Like that takedown. Wow. Stunning.
I suppose it's probably also the same thing where like a lot of actors that you really love and are really cool and you're like, oh, I love all this person's movies and they're the best. And you hear them in an interview, like, you're really boring. Like outside of your ability to act, there's really nothing going on there. It's just kind of a blank hole where acting happens.
I mean, if Punk does bring anything to make, I mean, he is legitimately incredibly tough. He gets absolutely fucking destroyed. He gets absolutely destroyed in this fight. And to his credit, he never gives up trying for his terrible takedowns. Oh man,
he also never succeeds at anything.
No, he does right at the end. He wins the most Pyrrhic victory imaginable. Yeah, he wins the most Pyrrhic victory imaginable right at the end. I'm pretty sure, and that he gets top position. If they'd had infinite time.
So a Pyrrhic victory is when you suffer a great deal, but you do actually win. This is not a Pyrrhic victory.
If they fought for infinite time, he would have won in the end.
This is the most desperate and pathetic moral victory.
Oh man, he makes that look really coordinated.
Yeah, the floppy hair definitely adds to the whole ragdoll physics type thing. It's always a good look.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I shouldn't critique Mike Jackson for not finishing Punk because, like, you look at this and it does remind you, like, oh, like he's a really bad wrestler too.
Yeah,
and so on and so forth. He's not actually. He just looks incredibly good next to Punk.
Especially the UFC criticizing Mike Jackson, coming out and criticizing him. It's just if you wanted a fighter, better fighter who was going to do better things in a fight, you should have hired a better fighter.
And if you were in need of an opponent to give your special prize fighter a good fight, maybe your special prize fighter shouldn't have been CM fucking Punk.
Exactly.
Like you set this up. This is your promotion.
Yeah. This is a fight that the UFC went into and created knowing full well exactly what it was.
You saw his last fight, guys.
Oh man.
So wait, where's the moral victory? What happens again?
You wait and see. He's gonna fuck him up.
Okay. CM Punk's gonna finish a takedown like he did in the first round. It's gonna lead to even more offense.
Oh, rolls for a knee bar. That's what the fuck I am talking about.
Such a bad roll.
He basically just threw himself on his face.
He was more surprised by it than Mike Jackson was.
I think Mike Jackson has a spy in his camp. That's how he stopped it. Just like GSP Diaz. There's only one way he could have stopped that roll.
Mm-hmm.
And it was to let CM Punk face plant.
That was officially the easiest Granby roll to see coming since Diaz GSP.
This really does feel like, not to like really nerd out, but this is very much the like RPG D&D kind of experience where like everything you're rolling fails. All day.
Just a bunch of epic failures.
Like,
I thought you were going to say this looks like Mike Jackson is farming EXP.
This is very much like you rolled for a knee bar and you roll the dice and it comes at 0. It's just like you have actually given your opponent more knees.
Epic fumble. Yeah, it's one of those things where like CM Punk with that knee bar, what he just did was try to pull his sword out of the scabbard, and like the scabbard comes off his belt, and like
his pants fall down.
Yeah, his pants fall down, and then in looking down in surprise, he cuts off the tip of his own dick.
See, there you go, Connor.
Terrible
there
fumble.
You go. You were talking shit about CM Punk. Now look at that. See, he.
All right. What a way to come.
That would have won Henry Cejudo around against Demetrius Johnson.
I like all this D&D talk because I've come up now with CM Punk's new nickname. I know CM Punk is already a nickname, so now it should have to be Phil the Natural Zero Jackson or whatever it is. The Natural Zero is perfect.
Oh man, that hair really just does.
Yeah,
it adds so much.
So I know, like recently BJ said that he would come back if they gave him someone he could beat, which I respect a hell of a lot as incredible honesty for a fighter. And I want to suggest, like, some people might say it would be cruel, but I would suggest CM Punk.
Yeah, why not?
I also only want it to be fought at middleweight or above.
Only if Penn once again brings in like Jason Perillo for like a week at the end of his camp, and then does his tippy toe boxing.
Oh yeah, No, I definitely want tippy toe boxing. I want it at middleweight. I don't want any of this. I don't want any of this skinny welterweight BJ Penn bullshit. I want to see the Penn who fought Machida, but much older.
Burrito weight Penn.
Yeah. Just like crawling all over CM Punk, like who just looks completely perplexed as this, like he's a Hawaiian koala bear.
Yeah, I also want to see this.
See, there's still room for CM Punk in the UFC. It's like, what's the funniest things we can put him in? Also, it's really hard to find good bad fights, and we need more.
That's true.
All right.
Let's move on.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Okay. Mike Jackson looking really pleased with himself.
He does. That is one of his things that he does.
All right. Moving right along to our second fight on the docket. Jeremy Horn, Gilbert Ivel, Pride FC 21 Demolition, and starting in, if I can just get this queued up right.
7.
Starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh god, it's 32 minutes long. The Diaz Silva's 53 minutes almost.
Yeah.
Oh,
Phil, I'm sorry.
You should be.
I'm gonna turn on Boss. I'm gonna unmute the volume to cheer myself up. Oh, good. Boss just told us that Gilbert's been working on submissions a lot.
Yeah. That's totally what it is.
This is before Baz was just.
This is where like he
just
pretended
didn't get anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Boz just told us that's a key to victory. That Jeremy Horn has been working on his striking too. But if he's going to get the win here, he's going to want to bring this one to the ground. So I'm expecting Jeremy Horn to get something done should this fight go to the ground. I'm not expecting 15 minutes of nothing. Is it 50? Wait, is this a 15-minute or is this a 3-round fight?
I think it's a
2-rounder. Yeah, it's a 15-minute.
5.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's just a regular Pride event.
Oh. I can't hear Gilbert Ivel, so I just assume he's gleefully talking about his fouling intentions. It's like, yeah, I'm going to poke him in the eyes a couple times. You kick him in the balls. Ref gets in there, tries to stop me. I'm going to fight him.
Yeah. We had Gilbert Ivel and Chet Congo in the same division at the same time, and they never fought each other.
I know.
It seems tragic. Even though Gilbert had seemed to have cleaned up his act by quite a lot by that point.
Man. I mean, I know that it was like a classic joke that Jeremy Horn always hated, but few really successful fighters have ever looked less like really successful fighters than Jeremy Horn does.
I just get a nice, comfortable feeling when I look at Jeremy Horn because he looks like home to me. That looks like a Midwestern man. 100%. That is like anytime I've ever met somebody's like sister and they just had a husband that I had to talk to because there was no one else there like my age. That's Jeremy Horn. He's just
you guys just discussed corn and pickup trucks.
Exactly. We ended up talking about some topic that I don't know anything about, so I had to just like nod along as he talks about like the mechanics of a VTEC engine. That's Jeremy Horn. He looks like home.
They also both look like it is always weird looking back at how young they look.
Mm-hmm.
Baz doesn't look young. He looks exactly the same.
Bas Rutten, like he hit 25 and he's been 45 ever since then.
Yep. It's solid because now he just went in and out of the like too old for his age straight to like looking too old for his age straight to like looking too young for his age.
Yep.
I feel like El Guapo made the least amount of sense around the time that Bas actually received the nickname. Now he's like handsome for his age, but then he was like Jeremy Irons, some very strange, gruff looking.
Yeah, you should like. It's weird how many people don't have names about being old, because those are the ones that you'd grow into.
It's true. Everybody's got the young nickname. It's the young assassin. It's the dynamite kid. It's the California kid. Like, where's the like California grandpa or
grappling gramps?
Yeah.
Jordan Gun Mean.
Jordan Jordan Rusty Gun Mean.
Okay, round begins in matter of seconds. Here we go. Fight starts. Oh, Ivel rolling his eyes at the referee's instructions. Fight starts
he knows referee rules mean nothing here.
Yeah, the referee literally told him to go back to his corner, and Ivel visibly rolled his eyes.
Yeah, referee does. Maybe it's just me, or the referee does look a little nervous.
He doesn't look like he can command Gilbert Ivel to you.
Yeah,
Ivel holding the ropes and then getting slammed, and then grappling ensues.
Gilbert Ivel is the exact guy to just like get taken down, but be punching the other guy as hard as he can the entire time.
Closing his guard and then like punching off his back.
Just arm punching with all the rage in his body.
Yeah.
So frustrated already.
He's not even going to move enough to end up falling through the ropes, as inevitably happened in every protracted Pride grappling match.
Nope. This is just this.
So since this is the second bad Gilbert Ivel fight we've watched, does it mean it's also going to be one of those performances where he doesn't get frustrated and mad and is like weirdly at peace and just loses the fight?
I hope not.
I mean, it's kind of looking like that. He doesn't look that frustrated right now.
Yeah.
He got over the takedown much more quickly than I would have liked.
It's true. Now we're just watching. I mean, something in small space, in like, a minute. There's something fascinating about watching somebody do like consistent work from a closed guard, or like, consistent guard top work for punches and opening things up and stuff like that. But man, does it like wear out its welcome before too long.
At least Gilbert's trying a couple of things. Oh yeah, but who's hyped about the ultimate, like, speaking of like fouling, and who's hyped for like the ultimate grimy, clinch, horrible, boring heavyweight fight between Tim Johnson and Chet Congo? That's gonna be fucking rad.
That's happening?
Yeah. Bellator. They got Tim Johnson. They said, "Hey Tim, we got some Chet Congo for you."
They made the right call, man.
Yeah.
I hope you don't like your balls.
Oh man, that's. I was just talking about this the other day. There was a groin stomp in there from
that was pretty good from
briefly.
Yeah, I like that front head. That was kind of no, John Jones hit an inside trip from the front headlock once, but that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Jeremy Horn is incredibly tricky. I mean, just the sheer amount of tricks of stuff he had in his back pocket after. I mean, even at this point, he had a fucking shit ton of fights.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's, like I say, for a guy who, that's what made Horn's career, is that like he never looked like or was the most athletic guy out there. He was actually a little surprisingly fast, but
he's like a humble Joe Lozon, where he's just like, "Oh, I'm not trying to put on fights more exciting than I deserve. I'm just gonna do what a non-athletic man should." And occasionally somebody.
That's a spot on Jeremy Horn impression. It was like he was right here in the room with.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. I've been working on it. He went from Midwestern man to aging prospector, but
yeah. So this was Jeremy Horn's 71st pro fight.
My God.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, like, it's weird. We were just talking about this with, like, I did a Bellator PFL doubleheader pre-show the other day, and man, PFL has already made themselves more like fun card to card with their matchmaking due to this whole weird points thing. Where like Bellator, they're like, yeah, we got Tim Johnson and we're matching him up with Chet Congo, and you're just like,
this is just the same shit. It's like, wait a minute.
I mean, that's the thing, is that there's always a nutter out there who's willing to collect together the sort of B to C tier, well-known fighters and pay them way too much.
Yep.
And then inevitably go out of business. So at the moment, PFL is just the next flavor of what like Bellator was.
Yep.
It's just like, we're going to throw all this money at it and we're going to get back absolutely nothing. So it's just a matter of time until it all runs out.
Points thing, like, they've made Frantimar Bahos a knockout machine by being like, hey, if you finish fights, you get more out of it.
Also by having him fight worse fighters.
Yeah, having him fight worse fighters. But
it's been pretty cool from what I've seen. I kind of wish I'd been watching it more closely.
Yeah, it's actually been like, it's been compelling with B tier talent, whereas Bellator, a lot. I mean, like I say, I like the welterweight tournament idea, but a lot of what they're doing, it's just like you're getting fighters I really should be interested in, and I really am having trouble coming around to it.
Oh, the welterweight tournament is going to be great when it actually happens, and when they're not all simultaneously injured.
When Michael Page doesn't mysteriously pull out of his fight with.
Yeah, who could possibly see that coming?
Paul Daly.
Oh,
there's
wow.
Go Revival with the soccer kick. Oh, the head.
Oh.
Okay. For a brief shining moment.
Yeah.
And then he
grabbed
the ref with him.
Yeah, that's what we want to see.
Grabbing the ref, pulling the ref down on top of him to stop the takedown.
Gilbert Ivel stands for 10 seconds in the fight and does manage to do something bizarre. He pulls the referee on the ground.
Yeah, I don't think it's like both of these guys could show the modern generation something, you know? Like, Jeremy Horn's got all these weird little grappling tricks a lot of people still don't use. And, you know, Gilbert Ivel, he can show there's, you know, everyone just tries to grab the fence like a sucker.
Exactly.
Grab the fucking referee.
In that cage.
Yeah.
Next time out, we're gonna see like some flyweight like climbing Big John McCarthy. Just
just like it's gonna be the new Showtime kick, right?
Yeah.
He just like does a Hurricane Rana around Big John McCarthy and launches himself off the top, and then.
I want to see a fight where Gilbert Ivel uses the referee as a bludgeon.
Yeah,
just picks the referee up
with another motherfucker.
It's too bad that Baby Brock wasn't wrestling or wasn't reffing in this era because he would have been perfect for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just like a squat little bowling pin.
Oh man.
Although I don't know, what's his face? Huge mustache guy. That would be a good like.
Oh yeah.
If you're looking for a kind of nunchuck type thing. It's just like the mustache looks like it would be a solid thing to like wield him from.
Instead, bereft of more referee assistance, Ivel is resigned to once again just getting slowly out grappled.
Yeah. And obviously the thing is that like Jeremy Horn has beaten a lot of amazingly good people over the years.
Swept a sweep.
Second time before he got out of the back mount, I guess, but Horn could be swept and everything though. That's, you know, like holding securely onto position. You also get the sense seeing him go for like these arm triangles and stuff that like a lot of Jeremy Horn's problems probably just came because he fought people that were like naturally strong and athletic.
Yeah. I mean, he was fighting at light heavyweight as a guy who easily could have made middleweight, and in today's MMA probably would have been down at welterweight.
He's probably carrying quite a lot of fat at this weight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he looks pretty soft. But also, like, he put his head under Ivel's armpit to go for the arm triangle, and Ivel just pressed his head out of the way with ease. He just couldn't even keep the lock on.
Yeah. Oh, Ivel.
Dogged, though, man. I mean...
It's been 10 years, and people are still going for that guillotine off the takedown.
Mm-hmm.
Even as the other person moves into side control.
They've kind of figured it out better than they used to be honest. Blood from the ear of Jeremy Horn?
I guess, yeah.
How did he beat Liddell? He did beat Liddell, didn't he?
Triangle, I think. Didn't he submit him?
Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, he's beaten Forrest Griffin.
Oh, wait, Liddell was the arm triangle from the bottom, right?
Yeah. Maybe you're right.
I think it was an arm triangle from guard or something.
Gilbert Ivel almost had this fight won right there. Jeremy Horn was on the leg lock. Ivel got up, punched him really hard, like 2 times. You're like, man, if you just kept doing that, then he falls for the leg lock himself, and you're like, what? No,
Same shit with the
he almost had Mount there.
Same shit with the soccer kicks before, man. Like, you give Ivel any opportunity to stand on top of you and rain shit down. He's scary.
Yeah, but also, like, it took a very, like... Jeremy Horn was quite tough.
Oh yeah.
Like, so wait a minute, when was his first knockout loss? I think it might have been what's his face, smelly guy. No, it was Liddell. It was the rematch.
Yeah.
Liddell was the first person, and I don't think that was a mercy stoppage. It wasn't like he flatlined him.
Mm-hmm.
It was like it was, you know, one of those ones where he was just punching him so much and they were just like, okay, yeah, let's call this off. It's pretty much done. But it wasn't like he didn't actually knock him out. So yeah,
he's only ever had 2 knockout losses in his whole career, and that were Chuck Liddell, and then a year later to Matt Lindland, and that was it.
Yep. Oh, submission to punches in his last loss in 2015, by which point he was
8 million years old.
Yeah, 8 million years old and 10,000 fights into his career. And
Yep.
He tapped the strikes.
He didn't get knocked out in MMA till his 105th pro fight.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty hard to knock out. I mean, this thing. I don't really think of Jeremy Horn when I think of MMA's great chins, but he's got to be up there.
Got to, yeah. Oh yeah, the Chuck Liddell one was the arm triangle from the bottom because people were. What was the fight that happened recently where somebody? It was the Dwalishvili fight.
Oh yeah.
It was the one where Chuck Liddell didn't tap.
Yeah.
Went to sleep at the very end of the round, and the ref didn't realize it until the fight had already ended, and it was posthumously called for Horn, basically.
Yeah.
Here we go. Gilbert Ivel looking at Jeremy Horn.
Gilbert Ivel not tired, just trying to compose his rage briefly.
Yeah. Man, the thing is, you watch them trade shots, and it's like the difference between Mike Jackson and CM Punk. It's like, oh my God, Gilbert Ivel, just everything he throws looks so hard compared to anything Jeremy Horn can do, but it doesn't matter. Jeremy Horn is the ultimate bad fighter. He's just not athletic or anything, but it doesn't matter.
I mean, it's what actually having actual, skill and training gets you.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for Jeremy Horn, man.
And yeah, being freakishly tough. But yeah, I just remember him because this was back. I hadn't been watching MMA for that long, but I remember the fight. I remember him fighting Palhares in the UFC, and just the stark way that you just saw him walk out to the cage, and it was not like anyone else. Is that he would just be, oh my God. Soccer kick to the body, and now Ivel doesn't know how to attack him. Yeah, he's just going to get taken down. But it was just the way he just went to the cage, and he was just looking around. This was literally a day at the office. Literally. A lot of people say that, but he was just utterly unpumped, unfazed, just we're just going to do this, and just got thrown around by Palhares. But obviously, Palhares was at that point leg locking everyone, but could not do it to Jeremy Horn, and just had to settle for kind of just ragdolling him everywhere.
Man, I would love to see. I hope Palhares returns to MMA, and I hope he doesn't cut any weight doing it, because
because you want to see him at super heavyweight.
The new beef boy Palhares is amazing. I mean, he's walking around at 212 pounds right now.
He's a heavyweight. That's awesome. He should just do it.
He should.
I just respect the fact that he was just clearly my problem in these fights is I don't have enough muscle. Yeah. I need more muscle. I just respect that reasoning.
His biceps are actually bigger than his head. In that that photo, and you can see it, he's got the flex, and it's just
blood leg.
He's blood. He terribly misinterpreted a story. He went to a museum with childlike wonder, and somebody described to him how a stegosaurus has a second brain in his hip. He's like, maybe if I get strong enough, my biceps will cover some of this processing power that I'm having so much trouble with. Bundle of nerves in each bicep that controls his vital organs, so he doesn't have to.
That's right.
Maybe that's been the problem all along. Maybe he's like an octopus.
Yeah,
and his limbs actually are just semi-sentient.
Yeah,
and all those times that he's just been cranking on subs way after the bell, he's secretly he's been no, stop it, limbs. And they just now maybe they've just taken over entirely, and they're just they're doing is obsessed with feeding themselves, making themselves larger.
Over.
Just imagine Palhares apologizing frantically as he's just destroying somebody's knee ligaments.
The bicep won't stop flexing over and over and over. No,
three limbs are trying to snap a guy's ACL, and the other the free arm is elbow deep in a mayonnaise jar. It's I'm sorry, they just do what they want.
He's just, you see him like running around the cage crying with like a leg in each hand, just like waving around. Like, I didn't. Oh, not again.
Someone stop me.
Paul Harris, the Blocktopus. I'm trying to think of a good nickname.
Oh
for
yeah,
this.
that's also a good one.
The Blocktopus.
Oh man! So back to Jeremy Horn out grappling Gilbert Eiffel, and
he is in half guard. He's got an arm triangle that he's not going to get.
yeah.
Now, both of these men have very comic-based tattoos. I'm not sure if the ones on Gilbert Eiffel's pecs are.
Like,
they're definitely of
Gilbert Eiffel having bad tattoos just makes sense because he just seems like the guy who just shows up to the tattoo parlor, flips through the book, and says like, "I want that." Like, isn't that like a bottle of alcohol drinking another bottle of alcohol? On my back, 2 feet high, go after it.
I like that Jeremy Horn's one is like a incredibly stylized, muscular, comic book style MMA fighter. So you kind of look at it and you go, like,
yeah,
why
Jeremy
is that on
Horn
there then?
is more like the kind of tattoo that somebody, like everybody he knew was getting tattoos, and he was just like finally like, okay, fine, I'll go get a tattoo too. What do you want? I want a MMA guy. And then he's never looked at it or thought about it or wanted to ever think, like, have anybody notice it ever again.
Also, Eifel's Corner.
Go on.
Eifel's Corner has T-shirts that say "Who's next?" on them! ! ! ! Nice. There's no question to be asked.
No question.
They're actually. It's like a Sideshow Bob shirt. You're misunderstanding. This is a Dutchman threatening Doctor Who.
That's right. Yeah. It's
Who's next?
It's
just slightly bad translation.
Or the band could also be the band Who.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Wait, is there another round of this?
Yeah, I told you guys. It's Pride. They didn't start doing the 2-round shit until like Bushido and.
Oh yeah. There's a very weird looking Alistair Overeem.
No, that's classic Overeem. That's the classic model.
Yeah.
Overeem with the clearly whoever bought this model of Overeem shelled out for the spoiler. The cool spoiler on top.
It's got like the glossed lips and the spiked hair, and it's just
Ichiban.
Yeah, it's Japanese high school Overeem.
I just imagining like whatever the Japanese manga adaptation of Twilight is, Overeem is Edward.
Yeah.
Oh,
Overeem is like they're cool, but he looks just like that playing a high schooler.
Oh yeah, he's just got like a solid like foot and a half on everyone else, and just sitting there incredibly cramped at his high school desk, trying to stare seductively around at the teenage girls.
Yes. Man, every single round begins, and Gilbert Eiffel throws the meanest knee he's ever thrown, and then just starts losing the fight.
He just looks at it like, I
mean, the thing is,
this is amazing.
He's right, because the fight has proven he literally has not been able to stand within 3 feet of Jeremy Horn and not get taken down. So he has like that one killer knee each time. Nice sprawl there.
I mean, we're obviously like,
don't you fool.
That was actually a pretty slick roll from Jeremy Horn.
I mean, his name is, his name is not undeserved. You saw him like sprawl, do the splits, and then move onto his other foot to like reposition and kind of reshoot. But we're also realizing that like Duke Rufus is a tremendously bad gym for CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like, I'm the guy that trains Anthony Pettis and Tyron Woodley and various other hyper-explosive athletes. What was possibly going to happen there? Like, he really should have been training with Jeremy Horn.
No,
Jeremy Horn could have.
There was every chance
like
that
all
CM
I've got
Punk
is freakish toughness and an ability to absorb damage, and Jeremy Horn would have been like, "Let me teach you how to flail into takedowns in an effective way."
Jeremy Horn would be like, "Have you ever changed an air filter?"
Well, it's actually a lot more interesting than other people might think.
Yes.
There's a fair few different types out there.
You say, you know, punk. If this whole fighting thing doesn't work out for you, there's always a place for you in my air conditioning installation business.
You can always cut lawns for a few hours each afternoon.
That's right. Oh, you know where I think where CM Punk really should have gone? Sick Jitsu.
Oh my god!
Oh yeah.
No one could have taken better advantage of his innate toughness. He would be champion already.
That's right. He's got all the best Sick Jitsu.
He would have feasted on Austin Arnett in training, proved himself the king of the fucking pack. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good shout. I think he could still salvage his MMA career if he were to go there now.
Yeah. They'd teach him what he's always been missing, which is that his body is innately tough as long as he ignores it, so he can just walk forward through everything and focus on
being a bad wrestler.
Yeah. I think that's the cornerstone there.
Oh, the other one would probably be Tarverdian. Just like teach you really how to get some transfer into the punches by like sashaying as you throw them.
He does have Ronda Rousey
spinning your fist, corkscrew punch, spinning your fist and flaring your elbow at the same time.
You know, this has been a pretty tame fight in that like a lot of it's been spent in single positions.
Mm-hmm.
But it has the feeling of like a Minowa fight against like a giant because Ivel is it's like watching a Derek Lewis fight. Like Ivel has just bench pressed Horn off of him at a few points. His knees are set. Like this hasn't been. I have enjoyed this. Is what I'm trying to say. It's been pretty good.
Derek Lewis is sort of like, what if Gilbert Ivel wasn't crazy?
Yeah. What if all of the points that Gilbert Ivel put into all of the shitty aspects of his personality? What if instead he like was tried to be a nice guy?
What if he was just serene?
Yeah.
And what if he was in a division with no grapplers as good as Jeremy Horn?
That's right. And what if he never ever had to face anybody who grappled really well ever?
Yeah, because it's not like he's got much better takedown defense or grappling abilities than Gilbert Ivel, is it?
No. It's just that, Gilbert Ivel fought in the era where somebody like Jeremy Horn would put on enough muscle to be a light heavyweight or a heavyweight. And today that doesn't happen.
You know, if you, I just realized that Gilbert Ivel is a name that if you wrote a story about,
this is amazing. Now he's gotten frustrated.
Yes.
It sort of, no, it didn't get him anywhere.
No.
Keep going. Back of the head. Don't stop. You would be critiqued for naming your asshole cheating character Gilbert Ivel if you were writing a story. It's literally like the Dutch word for evil. It must be. I am an evil villain.
All right. Do we actually want to wait for the scores to be read, or do we want to move on to the next fight?
We do not.
Oh, we're moving on.
Next fight. Normally, we would take the time to watch Gilbert Ivel put his.
Watch some highlights.
Yeah.
Oh, that knee! Wow, look at that. Like Jeremy Horn's ability to tank damage is absurd. Oh.
It just throws him to the floor too.
Yeah, partially because you can tell that like the Horn's body is not quite responding in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his rib cage is now full of something that resembles bloody oatmeal.
Yeah.
That was not bad. I was a good old school kind of fight.
It was pretty bad. It had a few moments in between.
It was all right. I mean, it was a Jeremy Horn fight. What can you expect?
All right. Now we'll move away.
Yep.
Shall we?
Yeah, this fight is long and weird.
Okay. Next up, final fight of the day. Nick Diaz, Anderson Silva, starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
You know what? I picked Nick Diaz to win this fight. I thought Anderson was more washed than he was.
I think,
and I also thought Nick would fight like Nick Diaz.
well, there's this whole, I think part of the Nick Diaz, or the Diaz mythos, and part of their own, intelligence perhaps has been that as they've gotten more beat up and older and aged in fighting, they've fought less, a lot less, so that people don't notice how much they've fallen off. I mean, Nate has actually, I don't know if Conor McGregor was just an exceptionally good matchup for him as a single power punch throwing questionable, or not even single. I mean, that's reductive for Conor McGregor, but a power punch throwing questionable gas tank, not interested in grappling or wrestling striker. But Nick Diaz has very clearly fallen off a cliff in terms of ability.
Oh yeah.
He just hasn't fought enough for anybody to know.
I mean, the weird thing is that this fight looks like a performance in which Nick Diaz is the one who's worried that age won't allow him to push his old pace.
Yeah.
Like he's having to check himself.
Yeah. I just feel like in this, he was just, I mean, so much of the Diaz persona is being terrified that they're going to look stupid. It's I mean, that's one of the great things about the GSP Diaz rivalry is that there were the two great fighters, the two greatest fighters of weaponized insecurity, like in their own very different ways. Like Nick is incredible, just splurges it all out immediately as fast as he possibly can, whereas GSP just diverts it all inside into honing everything down into the finest margins possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can see in this fight is that I think that Nick was when they were asking about the fight, he was like, oh yeah, shit, yeah, tons of money, it's gonna be great. Anderson Silva does ninja shit, I do ninja shit, it's gonna be fucking fantastic. He's a real fighter, I'm a real fighter. And then he realized Anderson Silva's main thing is making people look like morons.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, that is what Anderson Silva, that is what he built his entire career around.
Yeah. And he was just whatever happens, I can't let this guy be the one to swag out on me, the one who I need to show him how little I care. I'm going to show him how little I care. I need to show him how little I care. So even if he knocks me out, it's not going to fucking look that bad. Yeah. So, and hence we get this fight, which, as we have said, is one of the many cross-promotional super fights you never thought you'd see. It's going to be incredible. That's actually kind of shitty.
Yeah.
I mean, the only one is GSP Bisping, which crushed expectations by being really thrilling.
Yeah. Bisping still being blind in one eye, but GSP having lost just enough speed to not take advantage of that immediately.
Shit, if Bisping Henderson 2 also qualifies, then that was also some love to Michael Bisping, because in fights that you don't think you actually want to see, once they're announced, he actually still makes them fun.
Yeah, except for Bisping Gastelum. That was one right away where I was like, the man can't see out of his eye, and
that was a whole different. He had just lost.
Somebody who only throws power left hands. Why are we doing this?
He had just lost the title 20 days before. I don't know why that happened. So the question is, if Nick Diaz versus Michael Bisping actually does happen, can Michael Bisping make him fight a fun fight, or will Nick Diaz be terrified of being punked by Michael Bisping?
No, I don't think Nick Diaz would be terrified of being punked by Michael Bisping.
I think he'd never take the fight. And that's the thing. I think Nick's anxiety is now at the he's gotten to the point where he's literally can't take fights anymore.
Yeah,
could be.
I just think unless he was incredibly broke due to TJ Dillashaw in the background, unless unless he was incredibly broke. Is that Robbie? Yeah.
Can't believe you noticed TJ Dillashaw and not Danny Castillo.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to call him out.
Alpha male there is right there. There's
The walking
Yep.
HGH jaw standing next to TJ Dillashaw. Not an accusation, by the way. Castillo has always had a freakishly large jaw.
Robbie Lawler is, I think, right behind. Yep, right there.
Yep.
And there's even Rumble.
There's Joe B right there on the right.
Yep. No, yeah. They got all
Rumble being in this.
For this one. I mean, this is the kind of fight that, like, everybody wants to see. Everybody is going to come out and be like, oh, I either love Nick Diaz or I love Anderson Silva. They're both, fighters in terms of talents. Nick Diaz especially.
Yeah, here's the thing. I guess I want to give a little preface on how I feel about this fight. I'm expecting to come away from it liking it less than I did live.
Yeah, I liked it a lot live.
Yeah, I think it's going to look a lot more tepid, and there's just the air of what's going to happen is going to be gone, and so that is going to be a lot of what carried it. But the irony is that, like, from what I recall, Nick Diaz could have avoided. Well, I don't know. Like, how is this fight remembered? Do people remember this as an embarrassing performance from Nick? Did he succeed in not having Anderson Silva make him look bad?
I mean, this to me that just looked like. I enjoyed it, but it looked like two guys who were past it fucking around because they know they're past it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it does feel like a fight where maybe Nick could have done better if he'd fought differently, right?
I don't.
Yeah, this is the thing. I feel like. Okay, you guys saying.
I was gonna say that's the thing I'm still not sure about is whether or not Diaz actually. To me, I just kind of think he's. We've seen all of the best Diaz performances. It's all way in the rearview mirror, and there's just not a lot left to.
I'm confident that if Michael Bisping swarmed Anderson Silva, Nick Diaz could have been capable of it.
Yeah. So the main thing about this one is that. So unless something has happened to Nick, like he's been compromised in some way that we don't know, like maybe he got knocked out in sparring and his chin is actually gone. He does fight way too tentatively,
very reserved,
and that because the thing is the weirdest thing about this fight, right, is spoiler warning, is that Nick Diaz is going to win the clinch exchanges, right? And that is fucking weird.
Yeah.
I mean, and Silva's clinch game, you can sort of see clear deterioration from Bonner to Weidman. Where Weidman, he gets into the clinch with Weidman and Weidman just fucks him up. And then to this. Because you're like, okay, Chris Weidman, he is very good in the clinch and he is a huge, strong middleweight. But like watching him get outpowered by Nick Diaz in the clinch is...
Nick, who is a good clinch fighter and always has been, but is also a welterweight.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not he's not a top shelf. He's not a top shelf clinch fighter.
Like, no, that's how I remember this fight is it looking like a fight in which, like, I guess I feel more disappointed in this fight, more disappointment towards Nick than I do Anderson. At this point in his career, Anderson, it's like he's like Roy Jones. Like, what am I going to ask Roy Jones's chin to come back? He can't do it anymore. He's just not the same guy anymore. I don't blame him. So, like, I just feel like Anderson Silva can't physically fight the way he fought 5 years ago. I think he held on way past his natural prime with savvy and cleverness. So he's already done more than most can possibly hope for. Nick, on the other hand, like, there are these moments where he clinches here. I still think of this in my head as a fight defined by, like, oh, this guy's younger and could be doing better than this if he really wanted to.
I'm glad you're not thinking of it out of your head, though.
Well,
yeah, I think he's in a lot of he's fighting the image of Anderson Silva, and that was something that Anderson obviously has done an awesome job of keeping in the cage with him. Because there'll be those times when he's fighting someone and he's old and he's got fucking muffin top creeping out over the top of his shorts, and then he'll suddenly start to do that thing where he like starts twitching forward and starts moving really quickly, like he's this I think I described like he's like a mongoose, like kind of stepping in. And even if it doesn't lead to anything. People
Right.
are just like, holy shit, what's this? What's he doing? What's he doing? What's he doing? Okay,
You see,
he stopped. He stopped. Okay, look, that's
for just an instant, you look at Anderson Silva bouncing around and like making a face at you, and you're like, did he get knocked out by Weidman on purpose? Was it all part of the plan leading up to this moment? He's just been trying to fool me the entire time. You never know what he has up his sleeve. But yeah, he just can't do it anymore. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I do like. I do wonder how much
you'll see, right? You'll see. Note Anderson Silva's defense. Note how he can't see the shots coming in this fight. You know,
everybody does seem to have, especially fighters, all seem to have like an immense fear of getting clowned by Anderson Silva. Like even Daniel Cormier, which is kind of like, I don't want to get embarrassed by Anderson Silva. So it may be that. I just also, like I say, I also just kind of. I mean, I don't expect to see Nick fight again. I also didn't expect to see Nate fight again necessarily. That kind of came out of left field to me, and even still seems tenuous with Nate just constantly being like, "Why? Wait, why am I doing this? Why am I fighting Dustin Poirier?"
Is anyone convinced that Nate can actually make 155 again? Because aside from the memes of him being 300 pounds,
he did bulk up a lot.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like he was fucking huge in that McGregor fight, and he is not a young man anymore. You can't at some point the elastic starts to fray.
His body's been waiting to go back up to welterweight for years, and now it's like he's broken the seal.
Right. Can you imagine Jake Matthews trying to go back down to lightweight?
Right.
Yeah, Jake Matthews did grow like half a foot though. Oh jeez.
Here we see Anderson Silva thinking about all of the steroids he took before this fight.
So many of them.
He's just like, man, did I leave my Thai dick pills out in the poster signing room? Shit. That was the look on his face just then. So you're with me, Phil. I remember, obviously, Zane is an idiot. He thinks that...
he's fucking clown. He can't hear us. He's on mute. That's how it works. That's how it works. Shut up, Zane. You didn't hear anything.
Fuck both of you.
All right, here we go. First round begins in... I don't know. I was going to count it down. I have no... Here we go.
They're going to have a huge... They're going to have a huge...
Starts now. Phil does this to vex me. He just starts talking when I've already started saying the fight's about to start.
To vex you?
To vex me,
Are you one of the London man, Dem? Did you learn?
I am so vexed right now.
Is vex a gay word now? Is that what you're implying with that little accent there, Zane?
Proper vexed.
No.
Zane has now been exposed as a vile homophobe online.
Because Connor was vexed, yes.
No, there was a hint. There was a hint of a voice.
It's more of a Victorian lady word.
Okay, all right. There was a hint of a fae something to your voice there, that's all.
Modern London slang brought it back
10
years ago, and it's one of those ones where it's like I quite like it. It's good. I'm glad it's back.
All right, so there we go. Iconic moment, which went by a lot faster than I remember.
Yeah. Also, only a minute in. Doesn't take a lot to get you to this point, huh?
You do. Okay, now I'm seeing the Nick Diaz anxiety. You're right.
Right.
He's really putting it on a lot thicker than normal.
It took a minute of this
he's
where he's
terrified.
And apparently earnestly pointing at the ref. This is Nick Diaz turning into Drakkar Close in front of Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
Man.
And meanwhile, we just have Anderson being doing a bit of the jazz hands, but mostly just being no, high guard, not doing much.
Yeah.
People
and you see
go on.
You see Nick, he's taunting back at him, but he's also not doing what.
Oh, see, when Nick throws in this fight, I mean, I think this pattern's going to hold. This is what I remember. He hits Anderson. He just doesn't do enough. Anderson's defense is completely gone from what it used to be. He just can't see the shit coming anymore. Look, did you see how hard that jab just landed?
Mm-hmm.
It's also that Nick just, Nick doesn't throw one piece. He doesn't throw like one piece shots, and he doesn't bring his like chin with him. Well, he does kind of, but you know what I mean. He doesn't. He is not the same like kind of puncher that Anderson has traditionally wrecked.
Michael Bisping dropped Anderson now. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. He's not going to give him those easy openings. I mean, people have talked. People just don't want to let go, I think, of the notion that Anderson Silva still has something in him of classic Anderson Silva. So they're like, oh, it is like he's been studying his Wing Chun, and look at these weird blocking techniques. And a lot of this is complete bullshit.
Anytime anybody says Wing Chun in association with anything in MMA,
Look at this is the fight in which he brought his high guard out. He's like trying to block and parry shots. Look at how often he fails.
Yeah,
where he does react and the shot gets through anyway. He's just bullshitting. He's just trying to pretend to be Anderson Silva. Like he wasn't going to stop anything with that. What the fuck was that?
But yeah, we've had some pretty good exchanges so far. It's not bad. It's an interesting fight.
Oh yeah, yeah. Nick Diaz is winning this round, I believe.
Yeah, it's close. Like
Anderson has had some big moments where he's lunged in big shots, and Nick has been busier. So it's kind
of Nick just stole a nice little left hand right there, for example.
But also, there's a lot of Nick Diaz just sort of twitching and reacting and like looking really flustered. You know, even as he lands, he gets hit really hard.
Yeah, this is the thing: is that when Anderson wants to lead, he can hit Nick pretty much for free.
Yep.
But when he wants to,
it's a fight.
Yeah, it's where if he tries to hold his defense, then Nick just kind of throws stuff at him until he stops. But yeah, so I think Anderson's basically stolen this.
Yeah,
taking this round back.
Got some good shots in there.
Yeah,
good left hand there. Yeah, neither guy can actually like. It's very much old MMA. It's all about who is attacking. The guy who's attacking is winning.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also just a style thing, one guy's bigger and more powerful than the other guy, but the other guy, just doesn't throw shots which are as easy to counter for him as the traditional kind of big one punch guy that he goes up against. But yeah, I mean, that was a good round. It was enjoyable.
Yeah, pretty good. Do you think Nick would have been able to settle his nerves if he just accepted Anderson's handshake there at the end of the round? It was like, you know what? It's okay. He's on the same journey as I am. Instead, he's clearly just roiling with insecurity.
Is that Joe Schilling in his corner?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weirdly old school fight from Anderson as well, right?
Yeah.
You think of that, the way that he's fighting is very
pointedly. I think after his second knockout loss.
Yeah, so he's not like waiting behind the jab. He's trying to do it a bit, but look at that. That's kind of grimy, aggressive.
He rolled that punch off though. He rolled that punch off pretty nicely.
Yeah.
Both men just look. I mean, they both are looking very, very much like they don't want to be the one that gets humiliated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anderson because he's been knocked out, and Diaz because he knows what Anderson can do. He feels like he knows what Anderson can still do.
Yeah. So it's weird that we get this kind of this dynamic where Nick goes completely insane and Anderson just goes like reverts back to much more of his like earlier style, not even his like traditional championship counter punching style. It's not the same. It's an old man version of his old aggressive style.
It is just a weird fight.
I do feel like even when he was getting old, I still feel like Anderson would have been a real problem for Yoel Romero. Just because Romero would have just been like I'm gonna see what this guy's game is from like
True.
from a whole bunch of different angles, and then Anderson just sort of would have built something around it. He would
It would
just
be
be
one of
like,
those
"Oh,
fights.
I'm just gonna show you weird things, and you're gonna be utterly wrong."
It would be one of those fights where if it was competitive, like it would be so because Yoel chose not to make a very obvious decision. Like,
Yeah.
clearly he could just ragdoll Anderson with wrestling, but other than that, I think you're right.
Yeah,
He would just try to get a read on Anderson Silva and watch him for a long time, and give him chances.
but like, so Anderson did a lunging wide right hook into a left hand. Like, have you ever seen Anderson do that? Like,
Yeah. It's very nuts and bolts kind of just keeping hard offense out there coming at his opponent.
and also
Diaz
not
leg
throwing.
kicking.
Yeah, exactly. Nick Diaz winning the leg kick and the clinch
Yeah.
game against Anderson Silva because Anderson never really threw leg kicks again. That's like really.
Yeah. What a weird. Just it is like because it is such a funky like breakaway from how both men fight. I think that's the thing that like makes it so weird. Is it's not necessarily it's a bad fight. It's got its good and its bad moments, but
it still feels perfectly in character for both men. But at the same time,
in character, but it's complete divorce from what like Nick Diaz just shot a fucking takedown.
Yeah,
you know. It's just a really
like right now. Where's Nick's pawing jab? Like, where's his?
Yeah.
Where's just the busyness? Where's the work that Anderson Silva's brain has to process? This is not the way to beat Anderson Silva.
No,
it's the way to not get knocked out by him, though.
Yeah.
Like you see these moves, like Anderson looks very rote. He really has like gone back to these preset combinations and stuff. So like he's there to be caught, man. He is not reacting and flowing the way that he did even a couple years before.
No,
this.
he just got clubbed with a left hand.
But that's the other thing is that once Nick, if Nick was willing to commit to long combinations, ooh, that was pretty. But if he's willing to, Anderson's defense is has never been designed to deal with body shots.
No, he's just it's in a for a sport that never throws body shots.
Yeah. There's been two times in this fight now where he has landed a really clean shot upstairs after going with the right hook to the body first.
Yep.
It was a beautiful moment of classic Silva there, though, where he hit the elbow to body or to leg kick.
Yeah.
I'm still enjoying this. This is knowing what having a new assessment of the mental state of both fighters and everything. I feel like I'm still watching two really interesting.
The thing that starts to be like you start to watch is not necessarily how the fight is going, but how the people are going in the fight. Like what is going through like Anderson Silva's mind right now as he's psyching himself up and like puffing and like.
And I'm here for the characters, both these guys are past their primes and whatever. Oh my god! Like,
so look at that for example. It's just Silva's just like I'm going to control you, and then just gets punched a whole lot.
Yeah. Yep. That was him trying a little too hard to be his younger self.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just walk into the clinch.
And Diaz just sort of then going back to like accepting a high guard and just being like, oh, I'm just gonna. I don't know.
Even though as Anderson walked into him, he landed like 6 free shots.
Yeah.
Like, was that a Diaz round?
I think so.
Yeah.
Close, but I think so.
It was close. I'm not willing to. I wasn't really paying attention, to be honest.
That's why I say is that like the fight itself isn't really that interesting to watch so much as it becomes just about watching their personal struggles.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting they've still got a lot of technique and craft, but it's just the fact it's like watching. Yeah, it's watching great people do something which is slightly orthogonal to what they normally do. It's just slightly like shifted to one side. It's like, oh, you can do this. Interesting. What if Anderson Silva chose to fight an orthodox, just a really straightforward Muay Thai fight, and then Nick Diaz decided to fight like as some kind of weird
He tried to fight
range taunting counterpuncher
from Nate's range. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think part of it too, though, is it's a thing where neither Anderson Silva nor Nick Diaz have styles that ever feel like it. I can't ever actually imagine either man fully breaking into an old man style of fighting. Like, yeah, Anderson Silva's doing, in this fight, he's going to something more basic and safer. But it's also like you can clearly see those moments where it's like, man, I really don't want to do that. I want to be the classic Anderson Silva. I want to go out and just sort of dance and, goof around and be creative. But I'm settling for this because it's more functional and safe in the moment. And Nick Diaz, like, yeah, it doesn't look like he's fighting the way he's fighting because that's how he wants to fight. And so it's not like, it's not the Frankie Edgar thing where it's like, okay, yeah, I get that I can't go in and like just mix it up with like my classic style of just getting into these wild brawls. I have to be a more like creative setup fighter now that I've lost a step, and he's crafted a game that takes him in a variety of safer directions. This is very much like two people who were never going to change, never thought about changing, suddenly being faced with change.
Anderson responding to Nick's taunting by like pointedly backing off and creating space, just like he did in the first round. It's just like that. Look at that. He gets tagged with the counter, misses every shot of like a 4-punch combo, ends up with his feet out of position. It looks like he like surprised himself by how badly he missed. These little moments, like maybe these don't stand out, but just these little moments where it's like, oh, this is not a young man anymore.
Yeah. It's weird because it's also like two fighters that are good enough that they can hide that for a lot of people. Like a lot of people just don't see it, It's like, no, well, look, he's out there, he's moving, he's winning. It's Anderson Silva to me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right hook.
Yeah. So this is what I mean. Like you see him now in these moments, and then suddenly you're just like, if you break the illusion.
Yes, exactly.
Just like, oh yeah.
Nick breaks the illusion. It's like if Nick accidentally discovers that, oh, like I don't have to be cowed by this guy. It's like he's fighting as if Anderson's the bigger, stronger man, and then the moment that he can't retreat and they collide, it's like, oh, never mind.
Yeah,
Nick is stronger. Why is he fighting like this? But yeah.
Oh, that was a pretty body shot.
Yeah. He's just letting Anderson do this though. Like, what's his throw? Just throw punches. It'll work. He can't see them.
And that's also kind of like getting this deep and Nick getting beat up like this much is also kind of why I'm just kind of like it reminds me now of why my feeling was just kind of like, I don't Nick Diaz isn't the same fighter he used to be. And he's just fighting so often that people didn't recognize that Strikeforce Nick Diaz is not there anymore.
I don't think he was in the GSP fight either.
Yeah. No, I would definitely agree. Like,
just neither is GSP.
As young as he did, and you put as much wear on your body as he did for all throughout his 20s, it catches up with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so after like that first round in the GSP fight, you were like, oh, GSP has actually kind of scared him off. I don't know if that's gonna, and I just don't think that I don't think stuff like that sat well with him. That people were like, whatever happens, Nick is gonna drag a real fight out of GSP, and he just didn't.
Yeah,
he kind of tired him out, but that was not really due to like landing a hell of a lot of.
I think in retrospect, it was a fight in which both guys ended up looking older than we realized or expected.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's that one. Yeah, that's that one moment I think Pat referenced it a bunch of times is when I think Diaz stuffs a takedown like sometime in the third, and they both just sort of look at each other and they're just like, whoa. And you're just wow, yeah, these guys, it's not quite not quite who they used to be anymore.
It is weird though when it happens, when it doesn't happen all because of chin, because that's what everybody's used to.
Right.
Like, Anderson Silva's gotten knocked out a couple of times, but it's not like Anderson Silva's going out there and just getting absolutely hammered by every shot that lands. It's not like when Bigfoot Silva hit the wall and you're like, oh wow.
Well, Bigfoot Silva couldn't still pretend to be Anderson Silva.
No, but I mean, like, you know.
Oh, he should have tried though.
Like, he really should have.
It wouldn't have made those fights any less depressing, and he wouldn't have won them. But if he'd come out there and hit a bunch of karate posts, been like, and just like done the 52 blocks kind of stuff, and then gotten immediately knocked out, at least it would have been, at least there would have been some kind of like black comic value to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Bigfoot did the first head movement of his entire career as a taunt. It would have been great.
It's just really weird when it is always kind of crazy, especially in MMA, that allows so many options and avenues for you to split off of and to divert your talent into. Like, really good fighters aging out of the sport, like, everybody thinks it's going to be Chuck Liddell, you know? Everybody thinks it's going to be like, oh, he just gets tagged and knocked out, and every fight now he's going to go in and get knocked out. Or like Rashad Evans, you know? That's what everybody expects.
Yeah, don't tell, but the secret is that, like, compared to today's great fighters, Chuck Liddell was never that great.
Yeah, I know. But, like...
So, like, that doesn't happen to great fighters. Like, you just...
You look at stuff, people like Hanan Barao or, like, Anderson Silva, and, like, they're still functionally competing in fights. They're still in there. They're still making things happen. But there's just a part of the game has been broken, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you got to give. I mean, Anderson is, you know, at this point, many years removed from his physical prime.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
So the fact that he can still like beat, although it was kind of a robbery, he could still beat guys like Derek Brunson whilst being, you know, visibly, you know, fat and spindly arm and legged, but with a pot belly compared to his earlier self. You know, that's a tremendous compliment to just how much of a style he managed to have, and as much of a. I mean, I still feel like there's some world in which Anderson Silva, like modern Anderson Silva, could like beat Kelvin Gastelum just by being so much smarter than him.
I mean, there's not a zero chance that Kelvin Gastelum freaks out the way he did when he looked at Neil Magny and was like, "Oh, this guy's got long arms," and you know, like, Kelvin Gastelum just has an off night. Anderson Silva could still beat him for sure. He wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, I want to be clear, he wouldn't.
But it's just kind of weird, I think, especially in MMA, when, you know, because boxing is always to me very cut and dried, kind of. You know, like, you know, when two fighters are entering the ring 99% of the time, like, what's supposed to happen. Like, oh, he's lost a step and this fight's going to now look like this. And MMA, it's like, oh, he's lost a step and I have no idea what that's going to mean for, like, facing this guy who should be able to beat him, who should be the next up-and-coming talent, but can he deal with, you know, just the fact that...
But like, I have to say, like, these last two rounds, I feel like Anderson's just kind of just figured him out.
Yeah. No, he's just like... He's figured out that...
He just, like, knows exactly what to do. Like, it's a...
He's still getting caught every time when Nick does want to come back and really try and go after him, but
yeah, Nick is doing a weirdly, like, loading up on power shot style of fighting.
Yeah.
He's really taking, like, big single swings and selling out.
He really did just brutalize Anderson Silva in the clinch there. Well,
walk forward, Nick. You don't have to.
That's the thing, right? It's the fact. It's not just the fact that Nick wins the clinch exchanges. It's the fact that he only gets them when Anderson initiates them.
Yeah.
Like, you'd be like, in this fight, surely Nick Diaz is going to wade forward, press Silva into the clinch, and, you know, and just fuck him up with body shots. I mean, that's why I picked Nick to win. I was like, he's just gonna throw volume and he's gonna get inside, and Silva's since Silva's inside game is not going to be there to bail him out like it used to. But it's the
Nick
fact that
seems to feel like he's losing the clinch exchanges.
Yeah,
each time he gets
Silva
one,
like he needs to get out as quick as he can, and
exactly.
he just stop it.
He just like and he just fucks him up like he's doing the whole like it's a very like Anthony Lionheart Smith type thing where he's just like accidentally fucking the guy up because he's like a cornered rat. Like,
it's like Nick Diaz fighting a coat rack that has just fallen on him. He's just like before he realizes it's dark and nobody's there.
Yeah, and
but he never
pulls the shit off him and then looks around. It's like,
but except in this case, like a scared dog, Nick Diaz beats up the coat rack, turns on the lights, sees it's not a person, and then still spends the rest of the evening eyeing the coat rack from across the room. Like I don't know, at any moment, it could still surprise me. Like, don't worry, buddy. Walk forward. It's a coat rack.
So far, the scoring seems very uncontroversial in that we have like 3 rounds to 1 for Anderson, right?
I think it was Diaz the first round, last 3 for Anderson.
Was it the first round? I thought it was the second round we scored for Diaz. But the first round was for Anderson because remember, Diaz was winning at the beginning and Anderson came back at the end. He like landed tons of clean. No, that was the first one.
I don't know. I mean, the basics are Anderson Silva's clearly winning this fight.
Yeah.
Diaz was in a couple early rounds, and he's had a couple of moments, but...
Yeah.
This pretty much lines up with how I remember. Like, I'm still not hating it. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's just weird. It's just a really weird fight.
Yeah, there's still enough narrative pull. Like, I care about both Nick Diaz and Anderson Silva, obviously. So, like, it's still intriguing to watch.
Yeah, it's Nick being terrified and Anderson fighting a really good fight, but also I suspect that the Thai dick pills may be helping a reasonable amount, given the fact that he looks physically, quite a lot different to the fights he would have like after this. Yeah,
not that his like speed or anything is all that better, or his reaction time, but genuinely, I think without all that probably. The last 2 rounds of this would just suck, as Nick would still like not be willing to gather the nerve to come forward and make the fight happen, but Anderson also would have gotten tired and would be gasping from all of this moving around.
So here's a question then. What super fight that you could like, is there a super fight that you could put together right now that you think, I mean, I know we're talking about GSP Connor, but like,
that's not even I don't give a shit. I just don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Is there any weird fight that you think would just be like as functionally weird that you could imagine wanting to see?
So we're not talking champion versus champion. We're just talking like...
Yeah, like maybe former champ versus former champ. Like, if... I don't know. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard for me to even like... Who's even a former champion that... would be I guess like I said, GSP Connor would be
Jose Aldo, Dominic Cruz.
Yeah, Jose Aldo versus Dominic Cruz or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
Bizarre shit like that.
I'd still like to see Alvarez Aldo.
Man, now that you talk about it, Jose Aldo, Dominic Cruz. Now that you've said it, I do think that is like.
No, don't fall for it, Zane. It'll be
that could be a marvelously weird fucking fight.
Also, like Jose Aldo would completely fuck him up, right? He could just do exactly what Cody Garbrandt did. But he's bigger than Cody Garbrandt.
That might be the wrinkle to Jose Aldo's decline. He might get really tired no matter what after 2 rounds. And that might be the difference.
But also, I feel like you are asking Dominic Cruz to basically boxcar Homer his way to victory.
Yes.
You're just being like, you are guaranteed to get horribly fucked up for 2 rounds. Jose Aldo can do exactly what Cody Garbrandt did. He's just going to walk back, reposition, and literally react in real time to everything you do.
Plus those leg kicks that Dillashaw started to have success with.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still not sure if Aldo likes throwing leg kicks anymore. But
yeah.
But yeah, it would be interesting, especially if, maybe Cruz has a bit more durability or like power up at 145. I mean, the wrestling would obviously be a wash. I would be shocked if he got anything done in the wrestling against Jose Aldo.
Or how about like another obvious choice, Demetrius Johnson, Dominic Cruz too.
Yeah,
people would want to see that, right? I would show up to see that.
That would be a fun, weird one.
But that one, I don't get the sense that both guys are equally past their primes. I think
no. Well, Dominic Cruz has been injury-ridden for so long that now that his hair started to turn a little gray, it really feels like he's just lost a step somehow.
Yeah. But that one would have a different feel because you get the sense that Demetrius is still very much, at least adjacent to his prime.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't mind seeing Rumble against some of the heavyweights. It would be funny.
Although you could put him up against another Andrei Arlovsky and be shocked.
Yeah.
And he fails to knock them out.
You know what would be absolutely delightful is if Daniel Cormier versus Brock Lesnar is this kind of fucked up. Like,
yeah.
Oh, I think it'll suck.
Yeah, you think
I have a feeling. Yeah, I just think Brock is gonna like try to use his reach or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's gonna suck. I have no interest. I haven't even thought of that fight with excitement or glee or anything since it was announced. I was like, it landed on it. I don't know. It was like a dead bird falling into my lap when I heard DC call Brock out. I'm like, okay, yep, this was gonna happen eventually.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, it's you react to it in the same way that you react to someone getting like a really good sponsorship opportunity. Someone's followed for a while, you're just like, oh yeah, good for you, DC, get paid.
Yeah. It's like a compulsory super fight.
That's the extent to which you care about it. You're just like, oh yeah. Also, there's a fight around it that I'll have to watch, but
it really is. That is the extent of my feelings. Is essentially good for DC. That's as far as I care about that matchup. Super fights kind of suck. They just
which is weird because it's supposed to be like everything that doesn't suck.
Yeah, but it turns out that just like the big fights that are actually created by the mechanisms of the sport, like when a contender builds their way to a title, that tends to be more interesting and more rewarding.
Also, does anyone remember how some people thought Nick Diaz won this fight?
Yeah.
What the fuck were they watching?
I don't know.
There have been a couple competitive rounds, and I think like notably,
if you were only two.
If you were still expecting Anderson Silva to look like Anderson Silva, and like I did when I first watched it, you couldn't help but notice all the times when like he thought he was about to slip a punch, and then it turns out he didn't. You might think that Nick did better than he did, but yeah, that was Anderson's fight clearly.
Yeah, it seems like a rock solid 49-46. I mean, I would agree. A much more definitive one than I thought it was the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
What's with Nate with the like gel in his hair? I don't like that. He styled his hair for this cornering job.
Too many frills, Nate. You've gone too far from your roots. Yeah, I mean it's just a weird fight. Like it's just
I just think Nick was scared.
Yeah, it could be. I mean,
he was just scared.
Like probably like the night before the fight, he realized what he was getting into.
Yeah,
the way he came into the cage and a minute of fight time elapsed, and clearly he experienced that minute as if it had been 2 hours. He was like, "Oh my god!" Like he was so stressed.
And like I say, it's two fighters that really I don't think they're they're both adaptable within their style as like adapting to opponents, but it's what about adapting away from your style into something that suits you better? And I think they both seem like fighters who just could never, I
mean, I don't know. I mean, like I said, Anderson fought a relatively orthodox fight, but he changed it. He figured Nick out over the course of it, and it's a really clear decision over a relatively dangerous, although clearly very scared guy. If Anderson had just counterpunched that fight, imagine how terrible it would have been. Imagine if it had just been a fucking staring match between terrified Nick and counterpunching Anderson. I mean, that would have been truly shitty.
And it ends with the Anderson Silva joy tears, which are always one of my most favorite parts of any fighter that I've loved is how much Anderson Silva cries.
Yeah.
got like Shinya Aoki level cry game.
See, this is a great moment.
Here we go, baby. Don't cry, baby. You're a legend. Stand up. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's why this right here. This is why this fight was still worth happening. Why I still enjoyed it. Like it's just these are the characters I love. So it really did. Did anyone else notice, like watching this, how much better at boxing Nate has gotten than Nick?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like there is no comparison between the footwork that Nate currently has, and like Nate still has his Diaz foibles, but
yeah,
he has really come to define the Diaz, the Stockton slap brand, I think.
Yeah. No, Nate's always been, quietly kind of more technical, but
he's the Sergio Pettis of that family.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's really
it does seem to be the case, right? The younger brother is always the one that lives in the shadow for a while, but is actually the more technically skilled one. Just like, Chinzo. Okay, maybe not Chinzo.
Maybe not Chinzo. Maybe not Dan Lozon.
Yeah. But Patricky Freire.
Yep. Good point.
Well, having talked to them and their manager is very online. Apparently, he's always been the older brother of the two of them.
Right, he's the mature one.
Yeah.
But I think
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think the older brother often is that's kind of what you're saying. This paradigm reveals is often like the crazy one who lives on his personality and his ego. Like, the older brother often is the wild one whose style is a little more reckless, a little more undefined, and the younger one has to like catch up to his lead with pure technique and hard work.
Who's older out of Valentin and Alistair?
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm sure there was a point at for 5 seconds in their pro fighting careers where people were like, oh, Valentin, the older, more composed one. And then for the rest of the time on after that, they're like, okay, Alistair's just better.
He's older and more composed. He's got a great head for business. He's making deals before the fight starts all the time.
Yeah, he's got a great head for business, which then ends up in the front row.
Which ends up being a great head for punches.
Yeah.
No, see, I think of Valentine over him as being the guy who just he figured out the Bob Sapp racket way before Bob Sapp did. Do you remember that fight he had in Pride where he just had a completely meaningless leg lock battle with someone and gave up a heel hook and didn't even try to defend it? Valentine over him had a ton of those kinds of fights.
It's true. He also just had fights where it looked like he was trying and then actually got knocked out horribly.
Well, maybe that's why he decided to change his business model.
I'll remember him contributing to Chad Gregg's winning streak that got him into the UFC.
Nice.
Grave digger.
Yeah, no, it's hard to think that Alistair Overeem has the good chin in that family.
That is bleak. Truly bleak.
Oh, all right. Well, let's wrap this up so Phil can actually go home.
Yeah. I need to get arrested now. So, yeah.
All right.
Let's do that.
You can find me on Twitter at TheZaneTime. You can find Phil on Twitter at EvilGregJackson. You can find Connor on Twitter at BoxingBush, BUSCH. You can find all three of us over at BloodyElbow.com day in, day out. And weekly on MMANation.com where we're doing our shows. Connor and Phil doing Heavy Hands.
Well, Zane, do you want to do Heavy Hands since Phil will be in prison?
Oh, yeah, sure.
We're going to have to
in for Heavy Hands from here forward until Phil gets sprung. We're going to start a GoFundMe for Phil's bail. That'll be a Patreon, a bonus for the Heavy Hands Patreon, right?
Oh, yeah. It's going to be like, okay, guys, we're up to £6 this week. We'll get him out of there soon enough.
All right. So, I'll be back with the vivisection for UFC Lincoln. Connor and I will be back for the UFC Lincoln Vivi next week. And I'll be back for the 6th round after that. Give this video a like, thumbs up down there. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, MMANation.com, DOTCOM, all spelled out. That's where you find all the latest video shows, videos, analysis, all the stuff we do. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next time.